Shalom. All praise to Yahweh Shemel Shah. Double line to Apostle GMS. This is Noah Allah coming at you another video. And in this video, I want to just go on the topic of, doing things with eye service and being men pleasers. That's not what you're supposed to be in this thing. You're not supposed to do things for eye service. Do things to service someone's eyes, like doing something because somebody's watching in an attempt to appease them. That's not what you're supposed to be, because that's not being sincere. Let's get right to it. Ephesians 6:5, servants. Now this is talking about an actual servant under somebody. Be obedient, because in ancient Rome you had slaves, you had servants. That was like a social class, people that was on the bottom. And when I say social class, that just means you just had a group of people who were servants. They were servants to other people. Whether they was tending to their vineyard or being keepers of their house, whatever it may have been. So servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh. See? According to the flesh. So like an actual servant. With fear and trembling and singleness of your heart. As unto Yahweh Shah. So that's how they had to be. Though they were believers, you still had to, when you're in that work environment, you still got to listen to what that person is saying. The person that's, let's say your employer is saying. But you could also apply this to the truth, too. Not with eye service as men pleasers, but as servants of Yahweh Shah, doing the will of the Most High from the heart. So yeah, you had actual physical people who are actual servants. But guess what? In this truth, there's a ranking thing, a ranking order. And you got men who are higher ranked than others. So even if you was a person who was actually employed, right, you still gotta, listen to your employer. But you take that and you apply this to this truth. There's a ranking order, ranking file in this truth. And guess what? That's how you're supposed to be when it comes to this word. You're supposed to have fear and trembling, and with singleness of heart, meaning with no ulterior motives, no deceit, of one mind. Okay? Which is a mind that's sincere. And singleness of your heart as unto Yahweh Shah. So you gotta, as you are unto Yahweh Shah, singleness of heart. That's how you gotta be. Not with eye service, doing something to service someone's eyes. Because if you're doing something to service someone's eyes, then guess what? You're not sincere. As men pleasers, you're trying to please men. But as the servants of Yahweh Shah, doing the will of the Most High from the heart. See? So you're supposed to do the will of Yahweh Shah from the heart. So if a brother says you gotta do videos, don't do it because you think the brother is watching. You're supposed to do it because you know the Most High is watching. With good will doing service as to the Lord and not to men. But you're supposed to do these things if you're doing it to the Lord. As if you're doing it for the Lord, not unto men. Okay? Because that's one thing that we as men can have a tendency to misconstrue. Yeah, the Most High is not among us, in the physical. But man is. So you're seeking to please man. And not Yahweh Shemel Shah. Because you don't actually see him standing right there in front of you. Which if you did, you'll die. Obviously, you can't look at the face of the Most High and live. But I'm using that as an example. Or the Most High is not actually right here. You know what I'm saying? You don't take that into account. And the Most High is omnipresent. He's everywhere. So when you do these things, you gotta do this and say it to your heart, man. Not unto men. Alright? This is Colossians 3:24. Verse 22 and 23 basically says what we just read previously. So I'm going to jump right down to verse 24. Colossians 3:24. Knowing that of the Lord you shall receive the reward. I'll stop in verse 22. Servants, obeying all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing the Most High. And whatsoever ye do, do it heartily, as to the Lord, and not to men, knowing that of Yahweh Bashim Shah you shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for you serve the Lord Yahweh Shah. So we got to do these things as if we're doing it unto the Lord, because that's how we're going to receive our reward. You know? So, you may think you can fool man, but you can't fool Yahweh Bashim Shah. You know? And through the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Shah, being in his truth, brothers have obtained a great degree of spiritual discernment. You might think this brother, he ain't that smart. Yeah, he ain't really paying attention. You think he's not paying attention, but he paying attention. You know? You might not even might even notice that the thing that you're doing that you think is going under the radar is being noticed, but nothing is being said. And it's just an account being built up against you. It's a record being built up against you. He did this, he did that, he did that, he did this. He think I don't see what he's doing. That's how a lot of guys who've been in this thing fell out. They wasn't spiritual. They've been doing all kinds of stuff that they had no business doing, thinking they go on the radar, thinking they being sneaky, or whatever it may be. And then they get exposed and they end up getting out of there. Meaning getting kicked out. Galatians 1:10, this is the Apostle Paul speaking. For do I now persuade men or the Most High? Or do I seek to please men? For yet please men, I should not be the servant of Yahweh Shai. So if we please the men, you're not the servant of Yahweh Shai. We out there teaching because, we're supposed to teach. That's what we're supposed to do. You know what I mean? To the best of our God-given ability. Got to do our lessons. Now, don't get me wrong. There may be times you may not be able to do certain things. Oh, you got work. Oh, this happened. Oh, that happened, of course. But the Most High ultimately knows your heart. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people out there, they aren't really spiritual. They got a lot of pride in their heart. They want to be looked at as the guy that does the best videos. They want to be looked at as the guy that got the best editing in their videos. See, the Most High know your heart, man. I'm telling you, bro. Just be humble, man. You know what I'm saying? Just be humble, brother. Brothers. Here's another one. Let's see. First Thessalonians 2:4. But as we were allowed of the Most High to be put in trust with the gospel, see? We are allowed of the Most High to be put in trust with the gospel. The Most High has given this knowledge through the Spirit of Yahweh Shemel Shah by being taught from our apostles and elders, right? Even so we speak, not as pleasing men, but the Most High which tried our hearts. So the Most High is ultimately the one that tries our hearts. The Most High knows your heart. A brother could think something about you. He could be wrong. You might think something about a brother, and if it's not been proven, even though you think you may be right, you say, Yahweh Shah, forgive me if I'm wrong. But ultimately, the Most High knows your heart. And we are like the vessel. We are the vessels that Yahweh Shah is using to teach His word. So guess what? We have a greater level of spiritual awareness than people out there in the world. So we could pick up on certain things. I'm talking about the men in His truth. Some brothers will give Him greater levels of discernment than others. And brothers could pick up on certain things. You know what I mean? So when you do things in the truth, do it, with singleness of heart, man. No kind of ulterior motives. This ain't the world. We don't deal with each other like we in the world. You know what I'm saying? You don't go on, trying to get up in somebody else's business. You know what I mean? You don't, go around, just acting like a nigga, man. That's not what this thing is about. You had guys that was like that, man. Guys that was in the truth years ago, and they wasn't right. Didn't deal with brothers right. Thought they was greater than what they really was, being sneaky and wicked and being niggas and thinking, hey, well, you know, it ain't a big deal that I'm doing this. It ain't a big deal I'm doing that. That's a demon on you right there. Make you think what you're doing not that bad, but what you don't know is that what you're doing is a great offense. You know what I'm saying? You putting on the front, you putting on the act. You doing this when this brother around, when that brother around. But when he's not around, you acting like a nigga. You know, you got brothers out there that's like that, I'm sure. When they among themselves, they acting this way and acting that way. They probably joking on brothers, probably picking on brothers. I'm not saying that's actually happening, but that could be going on. You know what I'm saying? And if that's what you think this is, then you ain't got no business in this truth, and the Most High gonna cast you out. The Most High might put you to death, because you never know who you messing with like that. You know? And then when you get around other brothers, you acting like you righteous. Try to put on that little humble look. I'm telling you, man. Last scripture, Proverbs 15:3. The eyes of Yahweh Shema Shah are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. So that shows you the omnipresence of Yahweh Shema Shah, meaning the Most High is everywhere. Okay? The Most High is everywhere. We know the eyes are talking about his angels, but when I'm saying the Most High is everywhere, meaning the Most High, he's noticing everything. He got his angels round about, keeping record. You can't see them, but they're in your presence. You think you among this brother, and it's just y'all, and y'all doing something y'all ain't got no business doing, but there's an angel right there keeping account of it. So the Most High is in your presence, but you don't even know it. Okay? The Most High is in all things, because the Most High, Yahweh Shah, created all things. You also got to take that into account, man. The Most High, Yahweh Shah is watching. I'm not saying it's impossible for, our flesh to get the better of us, because it is possible. We just men on this earth. None of us are perfect. But we got to pray to Yahweh Shah that he lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, as written in the book of Matthew, the 6th chapter. And the more you went to the scriptures, the greater temptation, the greater spirit you'll have to fight those temptations, because the spirit of because the word of Yahweh Shah will build a good spirit, allowing you to be able to fight those demons easier. When a brother is falling into that temptation, that shows he ain't in the scriptures, man. When a brother is falling into certain type of temptations, and Satan could deceive you to make you think that you're not getting weak, but you really are. And you deceive thinking you aren't getting weak, and you keep doing what you're doing, and then you get kicked out of there. Kicked out, and then, like they say, hindsight is 20/20. When you look back on things, like, you can see things clearer. Oh, I should have done this, should have did that. And then when you get kicked out, you realize, damn, I was getting weak the whole time. It was pride. You don't acknowledge it until it's too late. So with that, I'm going to say, oh, praise the How about Shemel Shah, double line to your positive GMS. I hope you learned something, Shalom.